are back. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with Andrea Kay and Urban Miaris. And we have with us one of our favorites. I have many favorites, so I can't put them in any specific order, but somebody that always helps us every single week. Welcome, Eve Nasby from Merit and Brave.
Thank you, Barry. You forgot your introduction, though.
No.
He was trying to avoid the introduction.
Cue the blush. Can I please? Can I do it, Andrea?
Yes, you may.
The handsome and successful Barry Waxler.
Yes.
There, I said it.
And there's the blush. Even Urban could see that one.
Part of the show.
So I don't need to be here. You guys just take over and run with the show. Okay?
Happily.
Yes, of course. Yes, Miss Andrea, she's the type that it's easy to get her to talk. The alternative's not so easy.
I know, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? Obviously.
Back to Eve.
Anyway, back to Eve. So tell us, give us a couple minutes on what's going on with Merit Consulting and Brave.
Sure. So Merit Consulting is the largest service disabled veteran-owned business in America, started by a Vietnam veteran who was twice awarded the Purple Heart in Vietnam for his bravery. We have set up a Brave program, which simply pairs great veterans with great companies. So anywhere in the nation, if you have a need and you're listening today for a secretary, IT person, you name it, we can help you find a veteran for that job. Just give us a call.
Great. Well, you know what? It leads me back to, I think the Maurice Wilson was one of your guests who you brought in.
Yeah,
right?
He's phenomenal.
He's absolutely fantastic. I loved what he was doing over there, so that's got to be a great connection for you, too. His
program is electric. I seriously, when I go to his graduations, I want to hire every one of those students that I meet. They're well-grounded. From the inside out, his program is phenomenal.
And that program is Reboot?
Reboot.
Anybody got any information on how they can find Reboot if they're interested? I guess they can
www.nvtsi.com.
Okay.
Don't ask me how.
Don't ask me how that
how that mind
comes out of
hers
Reboot.
Is, I don't know.
Nap, and the blonde comes out of a box too. So.
Yeah.
I just want to say that there's a lot of veterans organizations, and in the last couple of weeks, there's a lot of negative publicity about some of the organizations we all know. But you get a program like Reboot and others that Eve brings in, you can rest assured that your donation is going to a worthy cause.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. It's important to point out. Thank you, Urban.
It breaks your heart when you see what some of these individuals, I'll say, are doing.
Right.
So, well, Eve, tell us a little bit about the guest that you've brought with us today.
I am delighted to have Trevor Blair from Manpower with us today. He went to the University of Pennsylvania, then he went to USC, and he's here making a difference in the lives of veterans. So I'm going to let him...
And, I'm glad he went to USC because it's very hard to get out of Philadelphia once you get there.
It's the pretzels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or it's the cheesesteaks or the beer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Trevor, tell us a little bit. You're with Manpower San Diego, correct?
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about Manpower.
We are one of the largest staffing organizations in the world, actually. Here in San Diego, we're actually a family-owned franchise, been here since 1977. And we are highly focused on assisting with veterans and employment. So where other organizations focus on more of the social services aspect, we are only focused on employment and retained employment. And so that's how Eve and I have connected over the past couple years, I guess, through various military and veteran support causes. And so Eve invited me on today, and thanks for having me here to talk about some of the veterans job placement initiatives that we're doing here in San Diego.
That's great. So tell us a little bit about you have to have many challenges that you have to overcome. Tell us about some of those challenges and how you've overcome them in your business.
Challenges with veterans in particular?
Right. Yeah.
It's a very crowded space. There are a lot of organizations all trying to do good in the veteran space, especially in the post 9/11 environment. I think we're still very much riding that wave, that sea of goodwill. And so I think it's tough for employers, for participants, for the general public, for donors to kind of sort out who's for real, who's doing real good work, and who is focused on sustainable metrics. And Manpower being a longtime San Diego business, we are all about growing the local economy. And our philosophy is that if we can retain veterans and their spouses in San Diego County after they separate from the military, their ability to contribute back to our local economy through their training, through their skills, through all the educational benefits that they retain here in the county is far beyond your average citizen. So every time we lose a veteran who takes their family outside of San Diego after they transition, that's a loss for us. So that's why we're really focused on employment and retaining employment.
So,
I think.
good.
I was just going to say, I think anybody who's been in the San Diego business community is familiar with your organization. Who doesn't know Manpower here locally? And you guys are just a phenomenal company, which makes me curious as to why, given your success and everything you've already done with employment, why the need to have something specific to veterans? Because you guys already had phenomenal programs related to employment. Why the need for something specific for veterans, and what makes that community different in regards to employment?
Sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Andrea. We started in workforce development back in 2005 with Hurricane Katrina. We started programs with the San Diego Workforce Partnership, and that was to have something here on the ground in San Diego to be ready for the evacuees coming out of New Orleans, when it looked like at the time San Diego was going to have a very large influx of folks who are coming to the region with no connections, little work history, low educational attainment. And so we created a workforce development division, if you will. And so that was 2005. Fast forward a few years, and San Diego is a military town. You cannot not be pro-military in this town. Right. And so it's not only the right thing to do, but also our customers were coming to us and saying, hey, Manpower, you've got this phenomenal reach, and you're doing workforce development programs. We would like to actually increase our veterans hiring. How do we go about doing that? We don't know how to engage with the military. We don't have the staff or the capabilities to go out there on base. We don't know how to translate their resumes and skill sets into jobs that we have readily available. Can you help us with that? And that's really how we got started.
Mm-hmm. And how did you then get involved in it?
Me personally?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a choice.
Literally, Manpower is in my blood.
Right.
It was I started in that workforce development division, and I think it was just something that I kind of naturally gravitated towards. Having grown up in San Diego as a kid, I grew up in Scripps Ranch, and I remember seeing the Blue Angels practice over our house. Growing up, and I never served in the military, but I think it's a career path that I would have really enjoyed had I done something differently. So I've always had that affinity to it. So I think I just sort of was naturally drawn towards these sorts of programs. And so it's sort of kind of handed over to me. Here you go. Take it, run with it, and see if you can get something going.
How is it in your blood?
How is it in my blood? So I am, I guess you could say, third generation Manpower. So my dad and his best friend, Mel Katz, moved to San Diego in 1977, which was, I think, literally a few days before I was born. Mel's dad had the Las Vegas franchise of Manpower and helped them get started here in San Diego. And so Mel Katz is my godfather and like my second family. So awesome. It's really sort of the only industry I've ever known.
It's a multi-generational employment history.
Yeah, we go way back.
Well, you're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KCBQ, streaming live at AM1170, theanswer.com. Give us a tweet at CloseUpSD, email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com, or find our page on Facebook. We want to hear from you. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with Andrea Kay, Urban Miaris, and we have the always beautiful Eve Nasby. I had to throw one in there.
Aww, good one.
And we won't come up with any monikers for Trevor. We're just happy to have him here.
He's young
each week we do the show, we talk about hiring veterans and disabled veterans. And I think many business owners don't really realize that what a pool of talent it is. And San Diego's more military personnel discharge or get out of the military from San Diego than any other place in the nation.
That's absolutely right.
This is the gates right here for future employees, and most business owners, I don't care how large your business is, the majority of them don't know how many veterans they already have on staff.
Absolutely.
They don't even take a pool of it. And that's sad. It really is sad. So business owners get out. I don't care if you have a micro business, one employee, find out if that person is a veteran or not a veteran.
Urban, I have to tell you that I think that a lot of this is an extension of, where we came from our time in the service. I know what it was like. Not that I know what it was like. I wasn't there. But, coming out of the service as a Vietnam vet, there wasn't a lot of respect for Vietnam vets and what have you. And even in the service when I was in, it was peacetime, but it was in between, times when the military really, became, heroic in the mind's eye of the public, and today I think it's becoming more and more. We look at our police, our firefighters, our veterans, our military. We look at them as somebody that is really, they're doing a valuable service, whereas there was too much resistance back in the days when we were in.
Yeah.
So
I could have been a contender.
You are a contender, let me tell you. So now, Manpower is involved in some nonprofit operations as well, are you not?
Mm-hmm. So we have a division called WorkPath, and that's the division that I co-lead with my colleague Heather Whitley, and we are 100% focused on workforce development programs. So that is raising the money, running the programs, and developing job opportunities for barriered individuals. So veterans are a huge focus for us, probably about 50% of our bandwidth.
What's a barriered individual?
Yep, that could be at-risk youth. It could be what's called a dislocated worker in workforce development parlance, which is someone who is affected by a mass layoff or something traumatic like that. Long-term unemployed. Anyone who has challenges to accessing job opportunities and who are less competitive on the open market. Our mission is to give them the skills and the training and the confidence to close that gap so that they can succeed in the world of work.
Great.
The unemployment, so much talk about what the actual unemployment rate is in the nation as well as in San Diego, but there are jobs out there, aren't there?
Absolutely.
Tell everybody about what the employment market is like in San Diego.
It's getting better and better, Andrea. Especially, I can tell you anecdotally, even within the last 6 months.
Yay!
The most encouraging thing is it's steady. This is, I think, is growth for real, if you will.
Okay.
It's not one sector or two sectors like real estate, say, that's going off like a rocket. It is most sectors in the economy getting back on their feet, getting going on stable, modest, but more long-term sustainable growth rates instead of these spikes and ups and downs. And Manpower works about 200 to 300 different organizations in San Diego County every week that we're providing staff to. So it's a nice cross-section of the local economy. So we can literally see the numbers every week. Who's hiring, what are they hiring for, and where are they hiring? So we can see that it is a nicer balance. But to the earlier part of your question about, how does someone access employment, I would argue that even in a bad economy, if you have the drive and the resourcefulness, not even the technical skills, but if you have the soft skills, the personality, the warmth, the energy, the ability to communicate and connect with human beings, you will find yourself an opportunity. You just need to have the persistence and just being able to connect with people. Employers tell us, just give me a good person. I'll train them what I need them to know in terms of the mechanics of the job. I can't train for attitude, I can't train for motivation, and I can't train for communication skills. So
all of which is really there with every veteran transitioning into civilian life, right? They've got the attitude, the work ethic, and the drive, right?
Yeah, sometimes all they need to do is just be retrained. You get a military person, 11 Bravo infantry as an example, and that in many cases is a hard skill to translate into a resume. However, simple training, and they are acceptable to training. I mean, they've gone through the military and they've been retrained already. It's something they jump right into.
Yeah. It's just a matter of repackaging their skills in language that private sector employers will understand. And that's what Eve and I spend a ton of time doing with our programs is if you look at, say, an infantry person, right? I mean, there are translatable skills to the private sector. You just need to break it down piece by piece by piece and see what actually applies because there's a lot more there than I think the resume at first glance would reveal.
Yeah. Well, tell us real quick. We're starting to run short on time, but tell us real quick what you do to help people transition. What goes on behind the scenes to help the employee or the military the veteran transition into civilian work?
Our program is 3 weeks in the classroom, and that is Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. It is structured and scheduled like a job. It's to get people back into the rhythm of being in the workplace, and it's done in a corporate environment. We built a classroom in our corporate office, so they're in a building with people running around in coats and ties all day. So it is to get them acclimatized to that. That's just where it starts, though, after they graduate, after the classroom portion of the program, because then the real heavy lifting begins, and that's job search and placement. And we use a two-part strategy. So we are teaching them how to identify job opportunities and look for themselves, but also feeding them job opportunities and actively opening doors for them as well. And so we don't stop. We tell them, our commitment to you is if you complete our program, you are one of our alumni, and we're going to stay with you, whether that's 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, however long it takes. If you graduate from a Manpower program, we are going to stay with you until we get you employed and keep you employed. So if you get laid off, your company moves out of town, come back to us as one of our alumni. We're going to get you back in the game.
Fabulous.
Fantastic.
Tell our listeners how they get more information on Manpower.
You can just email me directly. I'll give you my contact information right here. My direct line, 619-699-1213, or my email is tblair@manpower-sd.com.
Wonderful.
Wow, brave man. Giving out the direct contact info. Woo, hats off to you, Trevor.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I look forward to following up and seeing if we can't get more involved with you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Barry.
Great. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KCBQ, streaming live at AM1170theanswer.com. Send us a tweet at CloseUpSD or just find our page on Facebook. You can always email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com. Let me know what you think. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.